Superman number 30, Keith Champagne writing again, with Ed Beans, Philip Tan, and I think Tyler Kirkham as well, all on art.
Yeah. So, jumping ahead, that's probably my biggest issue with this issue was the art's kind of all over the place because of the three different artists, and it was one issue, so I don't quite get it. But that didn't make me enjoy it any less because I enjoyed the story for what it was.
I thought it was okay. I didn't like it as much as the last issue, because the last issue for me had a lot more intrigue and story to it, because it was all these kids going missing and what is causing it.
Yeah.
There was,
it had more style.
Yeah.
This was much more of a superhero story.
Ultimately, I liked it, but I didn't like it necessarily as an issue of Superman. If that makes sense.
Yeah, it feels like a backdoor issue of Green Lantern Corps more than it does a Superman issue.
Yeah.
Which again, if this came from the mind of Tomasi, and he just had Champagne write it, it makes sense. Like, he probably just misses writing the core sometimes. Yeah. This is how it works its way out.
Just because I think the last issue, I think that I'd sum it up with one word. I'd sum it up. Last issue had atmosphere, whereas this one I don't think has atmosphere. It's just kind of Sinestro's here for Parallax. He ends up taking Superman to Quad and has him all tied up with lantern energy and stuff. I was just trying to think of the right way to phrase that. But we end up having a fight with Parallax. Superman sees his worst fears, through Parallax and through the yellow rings. And we see a lot of interesting things, like, Lois seems to have cancer, and all these other things. John goes evil. That's his biggest fear, that John's going to go nuts and be evil. And I wonder if that's maybe a seed for something we're going to explore down the line. Not that I think John will go evil necessarily, but just
no. I mean that's any parent's worst fear of their kid, is they become something that you didn't raise them to be.
Yeah.
So,
think of Connor's poor parents.
Fair enough. I got nothing back for that one.
Low-hanging fruit. Yeah. But, the ones that struck me more is that Superman failing to save people. Because, I mean, to me, that's the crux of his character.
Oh, sure, yeah. I mean, that's... Because all these other ones are relatively baseless, whereas him failing to save people is something he regularly probably has to put up with.
Yeah. And that's, that's his biggest weakness, is he cares too much. And, that's what I liked in Morrison's action, where he didn't go and become a reporter initially. He was a firefighter. So he was basically doing what he would do otherwise, just as his job. So I like that that's his undercurrent, and that's what he's thinking about, and then eventually gets to his family stuff.
I think it says a lot about him that the not saving people in general is actually what comes first before any of the family stuff. Like it's a more present fear, and even though he is, of course, he's worried about his family because obviously, but it
and
just
like
shows
the Lois with cancer it's just like his dad's heart attack. He can't do anything about it.
It's mortality, but you can't. The people he loves are going to get sick and die at some point.
Right.
Yeah. If not something else. So it makes a lot of sense. I think that's just fine. But ultimately, it was a lot of Parallax fighting and Sinestro bantering with them and all that kind of thing. And so I was basically just.
That's it. I like that stuff well enough, but I didn't necessarily want it in a Superman comic, because I was I go to Superman to read about a Superman story, and then I get Sinestro and Parallax. I'm like, okay, this is fine, but it's not really what I thought I was going to get in this issue.
I mean, I don't mind them doing it, because I mean.
It's a nice cross-branding.
Yeah, because arguably,
that's why I read DC.
Because if it was in Green Lantern Corps, you might then think, oh, is this too Superman for Green Lantern? So, I mean, that can go both ways.
If this was in Hal and Pals, I would have lost it. I would have thrown it, probably. That's just because of my bias, because it'd have been Venditti writing Sinestro, and I'm just like, nah.
Oh, yeah, that's fair. I mean, that's...
But Champagne, when Johnson wrote Sinestro, he was almost this flawed hero that lost his way and got corrupted by power. Here, it's like, no, dude, this guy's a mustache twirling villain. There we go. That was enough issues with that one.
Yeah, there was a point where he just became. There's a point where he just became Space Hitler.
Yeah, and so in here, that's what they're writing him more towards. Is like he's going to get Parallax out of Superman no matter what. And even though Superman's like, look, he's not in me, he's jumped, which was kind of a nice change. Because fear can take many forms. It's not going to be this big space predator.
I mean, that was kind of the the crux of like the middle part of the issue is that it jumps from a couple of different people around them, and Sinestro ends up fighting them, and it's kind of fine. And I mean, probably the best moment, other than the sort of the nightmares of like what he's scared of deep down, is probably just the end of the issue when he comes home and he just wants to watch John sleep. It's just a sweet little Superman moment where he's happy to be home.
Yeah.
But otherwise, I don't think this was.
Quard.
Yeah.
I thought that was cool they brought that back, because last time I checked, Quard was obliterated and there was like a weaponer. So like the fact that they're putting them at such a pedestal, I think there's more coming.
Yeah, makes sense. And obviously we get the note that we'll get the Parallax stuff picked up in Howling Pals.
Yeah.
So be interesting to see if they go back with Quad and bring that up again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I imagine it would be that book that's going to bring up Quad again if they are going
That's where I'd expect it.
Yeah. But I mean, who knows? Sometimes they'll throw us a curveball and it'll be in Harley Quinn or something. Yeah. I don't know.
Well,
you just don't know with that book.
Yeah. But also with, I like when they explore new things of fear with Sinestro, because he's like the master of fear, but he's constantly talking about his will, and it's his will that's driving his fear. And then even his paranoia that he doesn't know where Parallax is, that's another fear-based thing.
It still shows why he was a Green Lantern at all. It's like he is still strong-willed enough to bend fear to his purpose.
Exactly. But then when he feels fear, it's because everyone's trying to get him, and it's very a dictator.
It's the idea that Green Lanterns, their whole thing is they have to overcome fear, whereas he, instead of overcoming it, he just directed it.
Right. Yeah. And that's how he took over Korrigar and became Space Hitler.
So, no, I mean, I think it's an okay issue. I think the art is spotty, and I remember the art in the last issue being better.
That's the thing. I don't think individually any of them are bad. Yeah, it's really noticeable
gel
when it changes. Yeah,
it's just fluctuating. So I think ultimately it's kind of going to be a forgettable issue for the most part. Maybe outside of one or two small moments.
Man, it's so rough that this had been one of the better reads for a couple months, and then it just took this downward turn the last two. With the monuments, and
and even this which was all right. It's definitely some of the weakest that the book's been at.
Yeah. I mean, the thing is though, is like had Tomasi and Gleason not had those two rough issues before this, we'd have been like, oh, it's because it's a fill-in. And it's it's like so it's a bit weaker, but but because Black Dawn was kind of rough, and then those two like field trip issues were just downright
awful.
Oh yeah, I was going to try and be a bit more diplomatic with my wording, but
it doesn't deserve it.
But yeah, fair enough. Awful.
So what's next with Superman?
I think we have all two fill-in issues, do we not? Was it all two part?
I think we do, because they announced it just like last week.
Because it swapped, because it was originally solicited to be Tomasi and Gleason again, but then they resolicited and they changed it at the last minute.
Okay.
So I think
it at the end just says next Apocalypse Now. So
that's right.